Sam Troy, Joseph Wayne. I wanted to comment just briefly, even though it's not on that, if I may, just on the resolution. The way this council adopts resolutions, I think, is an affront to the democratic process. Now, these resolutions may not have that much impact on the public, but I've seen lists of resolutions. The way that they're, I'd like to know when the discussion of the resolutions takes place, because you people, I guess, just do what the mayor tells you to do. That's the bottom line here. I assume the discussion of resolutions takes place at a work session. We just had a work session which lasted about 90 seconds. To me, there was no discussion, so I guess everybody just felt these things were, you know, okay, excuse me. I would, you know, as a citizen, I would like to see votes, individual votes on each of these resolutions in the future. Instead of passing them en masse like this. I think that, as I said, is an insult to the democratic process. The other items I have on there regarding Morgan Park, what's the first one I have on there? I forgot.
Gun buyback.
The gun buyback. The last time I mentioned this was several months ago, right before the tragedy of Newton, Connecticut. I guess it was kind of ironic. But, of course, all I get is no response from you people on this. I suggested, you can't say that it can't happen here. And we have our share of, we just had one last week, shooting a murder at a bar on Poplar Street. Maybe what I proposed would have an impact on that. Maybe it would. Why don't we at least discuss it? A gun buyback, like they have in Philadelphia and other cities, to get guns off the streets, to offer people incentives to give up their guns. My apologies to any NRA members in the audience who might think that the next step is going to be seizing everybody's guns.
Never happened.
Why can't there be something on the table along those lines? Maybe you have a suggestion, Mrs. Lavelle. You're not one to assume that violence is a good thing, right? Maybe there's some way we can put a stop to it. We can make the people of Wilkes-Barre a little safer. Maybe you have something in mind. I thought a gun buyback would be a good thing, at least to discuss it. The second item I have on there is, it was mentioned last week in the paper where the mayor decides that he wants to sell the land known as Morgan Park there in Scottsdale. I mean, how much can we privatize in this city, Mr. Mayor? And Mr. McLaughlin, are you here? Next to, I don't know, maybe you were misquoted in the Times Leader, but there was a quote in the Times Leader that said, this is the best thing that, to your knowledge, for the taxpayers in this city is to sell that park. Well, Mr. McLaughlin, as far as I'm concerned, you don't speak for the taxpayers in this city. Now, Mr. Sorek here, who's head of the Taxpayers Association, might be better said to do that, not you. So when you say that that's the best thing for the taxpayers, could you say that maybe that's your opinion individually? And I personally think, I don't even know why you have to offer that opinion. We have a mayor of this city, and I thought only governors and presidents had spoke people, but I guess Wilkes-Barre also has one. Well, you have a very good job, but you should keep your opinions, personalized, and not say you speak for the city. Because in my opinion, as a taxpayer, that would be the worst thing for this city. That land should be put to use for something that could benefit all the taxpayers. Maybe we can make another recreation area out of it. Maybe we can make a nature park out of it. Maybe we could build a rec center like they have in Kingston. How about those possibilities? Anybody ever think of that? You think of that, Mrs. Lavelle? I'm only asking you because, you represent my district. And that little discussion we had up here in the Heights.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you have an opinion on that. I never hear any of your opinions. I mean, I'd like to know if you have an opinion, because you represent my district, and I'd like to know where you stand on some of these things. And the last thing that I have on there is that I have some time left on it. And the waive of, there was the mayor, I guess, unilaterally, arbitrarily waived a loan that was made to Mr. Joe Amato for that Northampton and Maine building, and I think that's rather a disgrace. The city is in a precarious financial situation as it is. I mean, any amount of money that we could, as it is, that's a KOZ area there. Like most of that building, I think, that the chamber used to own is a KOZ area. It's advertised as such on the windows of those offices there, in those vacant offices, which are probably going to stay vacant for God knows how long. Mr. Amato is quite an independently wealthy man, for those of you who don't know. I know him personally. Gentleman, very nice guy. But that doesn't mean the loan should have been waived. The other, did I cover the last item there?
You don't know what it is.
Uh,
Street Park.
Oh, the Cole Street Park. If I have time just to broach
You have
that
about
subject.
30 seconds.
30 seconds to broach it. Mr. Mayor, or maybe somebody on council knows the answer to this. I've been searching for an answer to this for a long time. If anybody maybe could do some research on this. Maybe you know, Mr. Brown. I don't know. You're kind of quiet over there. Does the city still own the area that the Penguins have an office in there? Does the city collect rent? I'd like to know that, because as far as my knowledge is rather limited on that, but I thought there's a company there that collects rent from the Penguins, and I guess that's for the city, or do they keep all that? Does the city still own it at all? Has it been completely privatized? Pretty soon the whole city will be privatized. The parking areas, if the mayor had his way, Morgan Park.
Now you're done.
I'd like to hear if anybody has some comments.
I'm going to answer the
I don't want to
first
touch it.
issue that you had, discussion of what is on our agenda. This is not the first time we saw this information tonight.
It's not the first time, what, I'm sorry.
All the items that are on the agenda, we've had for quite some time. Okay, so we just didn't see
They
this
were
a
discussed.
half an hour ago. Yes, all these items that were discussed and voted on tonight, we've had since some point last week.
But you didn't discuss them in public, Mr. Barry.
They've been discussed, any questions have been answered, and if there were any remaining questions. Well, I'm answering your question.
I appreciate it.
We need time to digest.
public.
We need time to digest the information that is on there, to research it, and to answer any questions that we may have ahead of voting for it. So that, I mean,
You're supposed to discuss them in public, are you not? Isn't that a violation of the sunshine law?
No, it's not a violation of the sunshine, no. If we meet aside from that, it is, okay? The next question you had about, yeah.
Guns.
You had about guns.
You should know about that.
The back sale of Morgan Park, and Cole Street Park is owned by the city, as is Morgan Park as well. There's revenue generated from Cole Street Park, which, you know that, we talked about this before, from the use of the facilities there, the building itself, the ice skating, the tenants that are in the property. It is the city-owned property.
How much does the city get from that?
I'd
like to know.
I don't have the information right in front of me, but I'm sure if you want to come in, you can get that information. And,
Penguins are doing pretty well. Maybe we should raise the rent, Mr. Mayor.
And I would like to say, Mr. Chair, that your ideas sound real good for Morgan B. Park, but I didn't hear how you would finance it there.
I have some great
And
suggestions if you want to hear from me.
that is the biggest problem, is financing.
One thing we could do is lay off Mr. McLaughlin.
and there have been gun buybacks. Thank you.
We don't need a spokesperson.
Just answering your questions, you asked about the gun buyback.
Yes, I'd like to know your answer.
The district attorney and the attorney general's office have done those in the past, very recently.
Are we going to do them here?
There's no, if the district attorney's office is running them 3 blocks away, I don't think there's any real reason for us to do it right here.
I didn't see the district attorney.
Well, they have.
Where's the evidence of
They
that?
have. I don't have any evidence right in front of me, but they have done those in the past, and I'm well aware of those. Okay?
I think you're fabricating, Mr. Barry, but thank you.
You know?
Well,